Hello and welcome to this Thursday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun Samar Mahindran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. Indian student Neelam Shinde from Maharashtra's Satara district is fighting for her life in a hospital in California after suffering critical injuries in a road accident. The 35-year-old, a fourth-year student at the California State University, was out for an evening walk on the 14th of February when a car hit her from behind. It was a hit-and-run case, leaving her with severe injuries to her arms, legs, head and chest. Neelam was rushed to UC Davis Medical Center in Sacramento, where she remains in the intensive care unit or the ICU. Her family, meanwhile, says she slipped into a coma after the blow to the chest, and doctors now need permission, in fact, from her blood relatives to perform a crucial brain surgery. The family only learned about the accident 2 days later through Neelam's roommate. The hospital, meanwhile, also sent an urgent email asking them to come to the US immediately. However, Neelam's father says they've been trying for a visa since the 16th of February but haven't received it yet. Neelam lost her mother to a brain tumor just last year. Meanwhile, police have taken the driver into custody, but legal proceedings are stalled without a blood relatives present to formally pursue the case. As per NDTV sources, meanwhile, MEA has in fact taken up the matter and the US side is looking into the formalities for early grant of visa for the applicant's family. Now listen into Neelam's father and her cousin brother.
शुक्रिया सर हमसे बात करने के लिए। मिस्टर शिंदे, आप मेरी आवाज़ सुन पा रहे होंगे। वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड आपके लिए डिफ़िकल्ट टाइम होगा। बता सकते हैं क्या हुआ, किस समय आपको जानकारी मिली कि एक्सीडेंट हुआ है और अभी क्या मदद प्रोवाइड की जा रही है?
तो स्लॉट बुक होने के बाद ही हमें इमरजेंसी वीजा मिलेगा, ऐसे वहां से बोला जा रहा है। और हम स्लॉट बुक करने का ट्राई कर रहे हैं, पर अभी तक कुछ भी नहीं हो।
पर स्लॉट बुक क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा है? ऐसी दिक्कत क्यों आ रही है? क्या बताया गया है उनकी तरफ से?
वो बताया गया है कि वो कॉल सेंटर वाले बोल रहे हैं कि फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्विस होने की वजह से अब सब लोग वहाँ पे ट्राई कर रहे हैं, तो जिसको पहला जो क्लिक कर रहा है उसको ही मिला जा रहा है वो स्लॉट। हमें कुछ भी नहीं, मतलब इमरजेंसी वालों की कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं वहाँ पे।
इसी तरह का कम्युनिकेशन आपको आया है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से?
यस, अभी कम्युनिकेशन आ रहा है। मतलब अजित जी पवार साहब है और एकनाथ जी शिंदे और सुप्रिया सुले और हमारे यहाँ के जो अतुल बाबाजी भोसले और मुरलीधर जी मोड़ साहब है, वो सब ट्राई कर रहे हैं। उन्होंने हमसे संपर्क किया है उसके बारे में और वो अभी ट्राई कर रहे हैं, पर अभी तक मतलब ऐसा आया नहीं कि वीजा मिलेगा, पर वो ट्राई कर रहे हैं, हमारे लिए हेल्प कर रहे हैं।
किसका कॉल आया आपको?
हमें अजित पवार साहब के पीए का आया, एकनाथ शिंदे साहब के पीए का भी आया है कॉल।
अच्छा।
और मुरलीधर जी मोड़ साहब है, वो भी हमारा मतलब हेल्प कर रहे हैं, उनका भी आ रहा है कॉल।
तो उन्होंने क्या बोला कि किस तरह से मदद प्रोवाइड करेंगे? वो
बोले कि हम परराष्ट्र मंत्री जी से हम बात कर रहे हैं, उसके रिगार्डिंग कुछ हेल्प जितना हो सके हम उनसे बात करके आपको वीजा मिलने की मतलब तरतूद कर रहे हैं।
मिस्टर शिंदे, आप मुझे ये भी बता सकते हैं वहां पर इस समय कौन होगा नीलम के पास? आपको 2 दिन बाद इस एक्सीडेंट के बारे में पता लगा, लेकिन इस समय कौन है उसके साथ वहाँ?
उसके साथ उनकी फ्रेंड है, वो कॉलेज में जो है वो फ्रेंड है, वो हमको पूरा बताते हैं, इधर मैसेज देता है।
उनकी फ्रेंड है उनके साथ आप बता रहे हैं, और कोई नहीं है?
और कोई नहीं है उधर।
तो ये मैनेज कैसे हो रहा है? क्या वहाँ सरकार कुछ मदद करती है?
वहाँ की कर रहे हैं मदद, अमेरिका से, कैलिफोर्निया से वो करता है, मदद करता है। डॉक्टर लोग वगैरह बहुत अच्छे उधर के।
तो ये बताया गया है कि कुछ वहाँ एक्सरसाइज कर रही थी जिस समय ये घटना हुई है, क्या पता लगा है उस बारे में?
क्या हुआ, वो मतलब रात को चल रही थी वहाँ पे रोड पे, तो चलते समय पीछे से 120 से स्पीड से कार आ गई और उस कार ने उससे पीछे से धक्का दिया और हवा में मतलब 40 फुट ऊपर उछल गई थी। उसके वजह से उस दोनों पैर हो गए, एक लेफ्ट हैंड और उसके जो पूरे मतलब बदन में बहुत ज्यादा लग गए पूरा।
आप में से आप कौन जाना चाहता है अभी जो वीजा के लिए आपने अप्लाई किया है फैमिली में से?
हाँ, मैं भाई उसका, वो मामा का लड़का, और उसके पिताजी, हम दोनों जाने वाले वहाँ पे।
Indian diplomat Kshitij Tyagi strongly rebuked Pakistan for what he called baseless and malicious remarks on India at the 58th session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. A counselor at India's permanent mission to the UN in Geneva, Kshitij Tyagi stated that Pakistan's leader in fact continued to spread falsehoods dictated by its military terror complex and accused Islamabad of misusing the OIC as its mouthpiece. Reaffirming that Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, in fact, were, are, and will remain to be integral parts of India, Tyagi highlighted the region's political and economic progress, calling it a testament, in fact, to public trust in the Indian government. He also criticized Islamabad for harboring UN-sanctioned terrorists and urged it to focus on governance and justice for its own citizens instead. Listen in.
India is exercising its right of reply in response to the baseless and malicious references made by Pakistan. It is regrettable, yet unsurprising, to see Pakistan's so-called leaders and delegates continuing to dutifully spread falsehoods handed down by its military terrorist complex. Pakistan is even making a mockery of the OIC by abusing it as its mouthpiece, which is fooling nobody. We do not wish to dignify such propaganda, but are constrained to make a few simple points for the record. First, the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were, are, and will always remain an integral and inalienable part of India. Second, the unprecedented political, social, and economic progress in Jammu and Kashmir in the past few years speaks for itself. These successes are a testament to the people's trust in the government's commitment to bring normalcy to a region scarred by decades of Pakistan-sponsored cross-border terrorism. Third, as a country where human rights abuses, persecution of minorities, and systematic erosion of democratic values constitute state policies, and which brazenly harbors UN-sanctioned terrorists, Pakistan is in no position to lecture anyone. Instead of its unhealthy obsession with India, Pakistan should focus on providing actual governance and justice to its own people. Mr. President, it is unfortunate that this Council's time continues to be wasted by a failed state, which thrives on instability and survives on international handouts. Its rhetoric reeks of hypocrisy, its actions of inhumanity, and its governance of incompetence. India remains focused on democracy, progress, and ensuring dignity for its people, values that Pakistan would do well to learn from. I thank you.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has begun her two-day visit to India earlier on Thursday. Now, she's being accompanied by top leaders from all 27 EU member states. Von der Leyen will hold talks with PM Modi, focusing on a strategic partnership covering trade, clean energy, and defense cooperation. Meanwhile, the EU is expected to push India to lower tariffs on cars, wine, and even agricultural products while advancing talks on a free trade agreement with the subcontinent. US President Donald Trump has said that American companies will now be able to hire Indian graduates from US universities under the new Gold Card citizenship initiative. The announcement follows his unveiling of the Gold Card on Wednesday. Defending his Gold Card proposal against allegations of serving just wealthy immigrants, in fact, US President Donald Trump said American businesses could purchase his proposed offer to help keep bright students from countries like India who went to schools in the US for higher studies. Listen in.
I get calls from, as an example, companies where they want to hire the #1 student at a school. A person comes from India, China, Japan, lots of different places, and they go to Harvard, the Wharton School of Finance, they go to Yale, they go to all great schools, and they graduate #1 in their class, and they're made job offers, but the offer is immediately rescinded because you have no idea whether or not that person can stay in the country. I want to be able to have that person stay in the country. These companies can go and buy a gold card, and they can use it as a matter of recruitment.
Texas-based Intuitive Machines has launched its second lunar lander aboard a SpaceX rocket targeting a landing near the moon's south pole. Intuitive Machines' Athena landed aims for March 6 touchdown. The lander carries a drone named Grace, designed to explore a shadowed crater in search of ice. Now, last year, the company made the first US moon landing in over 50 years. Through the lander tipped over. However, the lander tipped over. NASA is funding the mission with $62 million, and private firms have also hitched a ride for asteroid research. Ukraine has approved key measures for signing a minerals partnership agreement with the United States. Prime Minister Denis Shamhal says the deal includes a joint investment fund co-managed by both the nations. Ukraine will contribute half of its future mineral revenues, while the US will provide recovery funds. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has confirmed discussions on a future Trump-Putin meeting following their Riyadh talks earlier this month. President Zelensky, set to visit Washington on Friday, insists security guarantees should be a part of the agreement. However, US President Donald Trump has said Europe should handle that. The full agreement could hinge on upcoming talks in Washington. US Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts has temporarily blocked a lower court ruling requiring the Trump administration to in fact disperse foreign aid funds. The stay allows more time for the court to consider the administration's request to overturn the order. The foreign aid funding dispute arose from a pair of lawsuits brought by the aid organizations, alleging in fact that the agencies have illegally frozen all foreign aid payments. Earlier, the White House announced cutting over 90% of USAID's contracts, totaling around $58 billion worldwide. Now, as a part of Trump's America First agenda, the step was taken. The move, backed by Trump ally Elon Musk, comes amid claims that foreign aid promotes a liberal agenda and wastes American taxpayer money. US President Donald Trump has directed federal agencies to prepare for major layoffs, with downsizing SAR Elon Musk projecting $1 trillion in budget cuts. The Environmental Protection Agency and Interior Department are among those facing drastic workforce reductions. Some 100,000 federal workers have already been laid off or have taken buyouts. US President Donald Trump has raised hopes for another month-long pause on steep new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada, saying they could take effect on the 2nd of April, and floated a 25% reciprocal tariff on European cars and even other goods. A White House official, however, said Trump's previous March 4 deadline for the 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods, in fact, remained in effect as of this moment, pending his review of Mexican and Canadian actions to secure, in fact, their borders and halt the flow of migrants and the opioid fentanyl into the US. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is headed to Washington armed with a major defense spending pledge, hoping to convince US President Donald Trump to continue backing Ukraine. Now, Starmer announced the UK would boost defense spending to 2.5% of its GDP by 2027, that's in the next 2 years, in fact, with the goal of reaching 3% by 2035, the largest sustained increase since the Cold War. The visit comes as European leaders scramble to help Kiev's voice in US, Russian talks and secure NATO unity. Starmer will also host a Ukraine summit in the UK this Sunday, with President Volodymyr Zelensky expected to attend. Over in the US, a Texas child has died of measles as an outbreak surpasses 130 cases across Texas and New Mexico. Now, the child, who was unvaccinated, died at a Lubbock hospital. Officials warn more cases are expected, as nearly all infections so far have been among unvaccinated children in the country. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said measles has a fatality rate of 1 to 3 per 1,000 cases. Taiwan on Thursday condemned China's military exercises after Beijing designated an area, in fact, to conduct shooting drills off the self-governed island's southwest coast. China considers the island a renegade province to be taken by force if necessary, and in recent years has in fact increased military activity around the island's waters and airspace. Now, the exercise was just 74 kilometers of the coast of Kaohsiung and Pingtung. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned China's move, accusing Beijing of engaging in unilateral threats and harassment, not only in Taiwan's waters but also in international waters. The country's defense ministry has said in a 24-hour period it detected 45 Chinese aircraft, 14 Chinese Navy vessels and 1 ship from the Chinese military operating around Taiwan, of which 34 had in fact crossed into its waters and airspace. It's time we slip into a short break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV with me, Arjun Samar Mahindran. The world's largest cryptocurrency has seen a sharp decline in value. In fact, Bitcoin fell 5% on Wednesday, reaching $84,201. Meanwhile, Ethereum gained 1.58% in the same period. Now, the drop comes amid global economic uncertainties and regulatory pressures on digital assets across the board. United Auto Workers President Sean Fain announced that UAW members at Rolls-Royce's Indianapolis Local 933 have reached a tentative agreement with the company. The deal comes after negotiations between the union and the manufacturer. In fact, further details of the agreement have not been disclosed as of now. And Nissan is considering replacing CEO Makoto Ushida after failed merger talks with Honda. The Japanese automaker is considering potential successors, now this following a decline in business performance. Ushida, who's been the CEO since 2019, has been under pressure to turn the company around. Nissan and Honda, meanwhile, recently ended discussions on a $60 billion merger after Honda proposed making Nissan a subsidiary. Shares of Nissan rose 3.7% in Tokyo after the news. Meanwhile, Ushida had previously acknowledged the company's struggles and hinted at stepping down if necessary. Nissan has not commented on this report as of now. California's Fast Food Council is considering raising the state's fast food worker wage from $20 to $20.70, adjusting for inflation. Business owners argue the current wage has already led to job losses and higher prices, while workers say rising costs of living make an increase necessary. The council will meet in April or May for further discussions but has not set a date for a vote as of now. And YouTube star Mr. Beast, whose real name is Jimmy Donaldson, is in talks, in fact, to raise funding for a holding company that oversees his businesses, including Feastables and Lunchly. The potential investment round could value his company at a staggering $5 billion. In fact, last year, his businesses generated over $400 million in revenue. Meanwhile, Donaldson admitted to losing tens of millions on his Amazon Prime reality show Beast Games, despite it being Amazon's most watched unscripted series. The company has committed over $250 million for 2 additional seasons. And Instagram is reportedly considering launching Reels as a separate app, taking advantage of TikTok's uncertain future in the US. Now, Meta previously attempted a similar move with its Lasso app in 2018, but it failed to gain traction. The company is also expanding video editing tools to compete with TikTok's parent company, ByteDance. Meanwhile, chip giant NVIDIA has reported a 78% surge in fourth quarter sales, fueled by rising demand for artificial intelligence. The company's annual revenue climbed 114% to $130.5 billion. For the upcoming quarter, the company expects revenues of around $43 billion, surpassing Wall Street estimates. Now, net incomes rose sharply to $22 billion, while gross margins dipped slightly to 73% due to newer, costlier data center products. The focus now shifts to the company's next-generation AI chip, Blackwell, which is expected to significantly boost sales in the next year and this year as well. Amazon's new Alexa assistant with generative AI, Amazon introduced Alexa Plus, its first major AI upgrade for the voice assistant since 2014, more than 10 years. The service, free for Prime members and $19.99 for others, can store preferences, make reservations, and even connect with Amazon devices like Ring. Alexa Plus aims to compete with Apple and Google's AI-driven assistants. Amazon shares rose 1.7% following this announcement. Meanwhile, Canada is going to charge Google for enforcing online news payments law. The Canadian regulator CRTC will levy a fee on Google to cover costs of implementing the Online News Act. Now, the law passed last year requires tech giants to pay news publishers for content. Google, which agreed to pay Canadian dollars 100 million annually to publishers, has criticized the new fee as an unfair regulatory burden. Meta, in contrast, backed news on Facebook and Instagram in Canada to avoid payments. The fee structure takes effect from the 1st of April with no upper limit on charges. And Pakistan faced Bangladesh in their final Champions Trophy game at Rawalpindi. Both teams are out of the semi-final contention, but pride is, however, on the line for sure. Host Pakistan will aim to avoid a winless exit, while the Bangladesh Tigers look to prove they can compete at this level. The two sides will fight to avoid finishing, in fact, at the bottom of Group A. And as we speak, the match has in fact been delayed due to rainfall. Former US Open champion Gary Woodland has received the PGA Tour Courage Award for returning to competition after brain surgery in 2023. Woodland underwent a craniotomy to remove a benign tumor and made his comeback in January 2024, securing 3 top 25 finishes. He became the 7th recipient of the prestigious award. Over to the English Premier League, where Liverpool has extended their Premier League lead to 13 points, this after a 2-0 victory over Newcastle. Goals from Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis Mac Allister secured the win, while Arsenal dropped points in a goalless draw against Nottingham Forest. With this lead, Liverpool is closing in on their 20th English League title. Diesel's latest collection, unveiled at the Milan Fashion Week, embraced a dystopian theme with models sporting ghostly eyes and spray-painted smiles. The collection featured bold silhouettes from ultra-mini skirts to low-rise jeans. Designer Glenn Martens, known for Diesel's textile innovations, is set to take over at Maison Margiela after Jean Galano, though no creative changes, however, have been announced for Diesel just as yet. In a statement to the Santa Fe, New Mexican County Sheriff Adnan Mendoza said at Hackman and his wife, classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, were in fact found dead on Wednesday afternoon in their home in the Santa Fe Summit community, northeast of the city. And well, that's all we have for you today. Take care and have a wonderful day.